Welcome back, students. Somebody left me a question that said, what exactly is begin mode? So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how begin mode works, especially on the BA2 Plus. Okay, so just a quick reminder of what is an annuity. All right, there are three elements to an annuity. The first one is it's a series of equal payments. That means that if we set our annuity to 1,000, it's going to be 1,000 for every year, and it's not going to change from that. It's not going to be higher one year or lower another year. The payments occur at fixed interval, for example, at the end of every year, and the payments are finite. They end. So, for example, in this case, they end after 3 years, which means we have 1, 2, 3 equal payments. Okay, I want to get very specific so that you guys can understand the difference between end mode and begin mode. So end mode refers to December 31st or the end of the year or the end of the period. So for example, if we're doing semi-annual payments, it could be at the end of 6 months. If we're doing monthly payments, it could be at the end of the month. But in this case, we're talking yearly, okay? Now, beginning refers to January 1st or the beginning of the period. Now, your calculator by default is set to end mode. So when I pull up the financial calculator, you'll notice that it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say whether it's in end mode or begin mode. It just is, right? To change it to begin mode, you actually have to tell the calculator, hey, I want you in begin mode. And it'll always remind you right here, hey, I'm in begin mode, because that's not the default setting. So let me change that back. Okay, so I'll just do the first year here as an example. For example, we have 3 years here. 2, 1 year, and time 0, which is actually today or the beginning of the period. Now, the beginning of the period, because they're yearly, is going to be January 1st, okay? Now, the end of the period is going to be December 31st, okay? Now, this is the beginning, BEG, and this is the end of the period, obviously. And this is all for year 1. Now, we have the exact same situation the next year, right? We have a beginning and an end for year 2, and we have a beginning and an end for year 3, right? We have a beginning, I'll denote that as B, and we have an end, and here we have a beginning, and we have an end, okay? So now that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea between the difference between end mode and begin mode. All right, so I'm going to use $1,000 as an example, because that's what we're going to use in the 2 problems that I have for you below. Now, this $1,000 is compounded at 10%. So after the first year of compounding, we would have $1,100. After the second year of compounding, we would have $1,210. And after the third year, we'd have $1,331. Okay, I just want you to keep these numbers in mind. All right, we have our ordinary annuity here. You can see I have the chart for each of the 3 years that $1,000 is going to grow. And then we have our problem here. We have a problem with 3 years, compounding at 10%, present value of 0, and 3 payments of $1,000 made at the end of each year. And we are looking for future value. So look, if you look at the arrows, let me just remove this to clean this up. Each of the arrows is pointing to December 31st of each of the 3 years. So we have year 1, year 2, and year 3. Now, I put 0 here. This is typically known as today. So this is where you're looking from. You're looking from today. And in this question, we're trying to figure out in year 3, I'm going to pull my money out on December 31st. So what is the future value of these 3 payments that I'm going to be making, right? So let's do this manually, and then we'll do it on the BA2 Plus so that you can see how things are actually working on the calculator. So the first thing I want to do, this is our first payment, payment 1, right, of $1,000. Now notice that if we're looking at today, we've actually waited, I'm going to call this January 1st, we've actually waited the whole year to make our first payment, right? We said, okay, I'm going to make a payment, but I'm going to start at the end of the year, right? So how many times does this $1,000 compound? Well, it compounds once. Oh, I actually want to do that and keep the colors the same. It compounds once. It compounds twice, okay? So what is the value of $1,000 compounded twice? It's 1,210. I want to see if I can keep this. Okay, 1,210. Now, we wait a whole nother year at the end of year 2, right? This is December 31st of the second year. And how many years does this compound? Well, this only compounds 1 year. So then that means that it turns into $1,100. 1,100. Now, the last payment is interesting. Remember, I told you we're going to pull our money out in the third year on December 31st, the last day of the third year. But we're also making that payment on the same day. So there is no compounding for this $1,000. It just is $1,000, right? So we need to add all 3 of these together. This $1,000 plus the ones that actually got a chance to compound, right? So let's just put that into our calculator really quick. We have our $1,000 here for the last payment plus 1,100 plus 1,210. So we have a future value of 3,310. Future value 3,310. Now, if we use our time value of money, we should get exactly the same answer. Now, just keep in mind that these are payments that we are making. So for the BA2 Plus, you're actually going to have to put those in as negative. I've got a video on, why they should be negative and when they should and shouldn't be, so you can watch that if you'd like. Let me just clear my time value of money here. So left to right, 3 years, compounding is at 10%, present value is 0. I'm making $1,000 payments, that's why it's negative. And I'm going to compute my future value. So look at that, 3,310. Exactly what we computed, right, manually. And I hope that made sense as to how we got that 3,310. Okay? All right, so I hope the ordinary annuity made sense. Now that you feel comfortable with this, let me explain the annuity due. So the biggest difference here is notice where the arrows are pointing. They are all pointing to January 1st of each year, whereas up here they were all pointing as to December 31st. So similar to our other problem, we are looking at things from here, from today, time 0, and we're going to pull out our money. Sorry, that's year 3. In year 3, and on December 31st, that's when we're going to pull our money out, right? So we have year 1, year 2, and year 3. Now, the big difference here is that notice that this January 1st, we're making our first payment immediately. So what does that mean? This first payment gets to compound not once, not twice, but 3 times. And what is the value of 3 years of compounding? It's 1,331. Let me see if I can do that without making a mess here. Okay, 1,331. What about the second payment? How many times does that get to compound? Once, twice. Therefore, this payment is 2 years of compounding. So that's 1,210. And we have this last payment gets to compound at least one time. So then that turns into 1,100. So each of these gets to compound. And then that's why when you make the payment today, because you have more time to compound, the total, we're going to add all these up, should be larger than the end mode. So let's add these up. The last year is 1,100 plus 1,210 plus 1,331. That's 3,641. Future value is 3,641. Let's put that into our calculator. Okay, so I'm going to second clear. Now, you got to be careful. These are all in begin mode. I have to change my setting here. Second begin, second set to begin mode. Everything else after that is the same. That tells the calculator, hey, we are not going to make payments at the end of the year on December 31st. We're going to make payments on January 1st of each year. Shift all of the payments a whole from December 31st to January 1st, okay? All right. So everything else is the same. Let's clear our time value of money. Left to right here, 3 years. The interest rate is compounding at 10%, 0 for present value. The payments are 1,000, and we're going to compute our future value, 3,651. Sorry, what am I doing? 3,641, just like we have here. Okay, so now you can see manually how this compounding works and how actually changing from end mode to begin mode affects your calculation and how the BA2 Plus actually, how it's actually working, okay? All right, so lastly, I have a challenge question. How does an ordinary annuity or an annuity due affect our calculation of the present value? So now what I'd like you to do is actually attempt to solve for the present value of the annuity due and the present value of the ordinary annuity. How does that shift affect the value in each setting? Okay, I think if you can think through that, leave me the answer in the comment section. Think through that. I think you'll have a very strong understanding of the impact of the end mode versus the begin mode. Okay, all right. So just one reminder, instead of compounding, we are discounting. All right, lastly, some takeaways. The annuity due shifts all payments to the beginning of the year from the end of the year. Okay, that's what the begin mode does in your calculator. What does this allow to happen? It allows compounding to start immediately. And then this allows more time to compound. That's why your future value will always be larger when you're in begin mode for the same problem. All right, guys, I hope this video brought you some value, some understanding of how the BA2 Plus works, what the difference between end mode and begin mode is, sort of those details that you may be missing, all right? Great, I will see you in the next video.